you talk a little bit about the genesis of The Innocent Man, which was your first foray into nonfiction, and why you chose that case? That there had already been a book written about it. It was an old case. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that case and that book because it's still fresh. The book was published a year ago. It's still available in fine bookstores everywhere. For probably 30% off now, but you can still.
I saw it on the $2 table just the other day.
So that does make you a member of the Rock Bottom Remainder.
I could be a member of the band. Usually I finish a book by Thanksgiving. Every year I try to, but that's my goal, to finish the book, because during the holidays I don't want to work, I don't want to do anything. I just want to goof off and loaf and all that kind of stuff. And on December the 4th of 2004, I was flipping through the New York Times rapidly and came across the obituaries. I love obituaries because, especially the Times obituaries, because they bring you these concise histories of people that you probably would never meet or never even know of. And the lead obituary that day was a picture of a guy standing in a courtroom. And the headline said, Ron Williamson, freed from death row, dies at the age of 51. And so that's a pretty good headline, okay? And the guy appeared to be about my age. And I started reading the obituary, and the first paragraph read something like this. Ron Williamson, who left his small town, Ronald Keith Williamson, who left his small town in Oklahoma with dreams of pursuing a career in the major leagues, but was later sent to death row and came within 5 days of being executed for a murder he did not commit, died Saturday in Tulsa at the age of 51. The cause was cirrhosis of the liver. He and I were the same age. We grew up not too far apart, small towns in Oklahoma and Arkansas. I was drawn to the story, and I read the rest of the obituary. And, writers are always on the prowl for a story. We steal everything. Every story we get, we're always, we can take it and fictionalize it. And from that moment, I was captivated by the story of Ron Williamson. I had never thought about wrongful convictions. I was vaguely aware of the DNA exoneration. This is 1999 when he got out. This was 2004 when I read the obituary. He drank himself to death in 5 years. But I was aware of that. I was aware of these exonerations, but I wasn't too concerned about them. But suddenly I had this story that I had to explore. And I called his family. I called his two sisters and cut a deal so I could have exclusive access to Ron, his story, his Little League baseball uniforms, his everything he ever did. I took possession of it. And for the next 18 months, began doing what good journalists do, and that's sticking to the facts, unlike novelists, because we can just make up stuff. And it turned into be something that was far more hard work than I wanted to do. But it was a fantastic journey that I thoroughly enjoyed and wrote a book I'm very proud of. But in doing that, I became very much aware of wrongful convictions. When you sit in a prison in Oklahoma and talk to two men who've been there for 25 years and they'll never get out, it stays under your skin for a long time. There's no DNA. Can't help them. There's nothing really we can do to help them. Well, we can try. But they're never going to get out. They entered prison at the age of 21, 22, and they will die in prison. And you think, what a waste. What is wrong with this system when we do this to people? I met a lot of people along the way when I wrote the book. And I met a lot of innocent people, some who are still in prison. And that journey led me to where I am right now.
And your wife, does she still allow you to read the obituaries, or she's...
She endured a lot when I was writing this book. Renee reads my first drafts with a great deal of, it's almost vengeance. It's enthusiasm, aggression. She reads it with a red pen, looking to mark everything up, and she's a wonderful reader. And I get that if I survive the first draft, the book's usually in pretty good shape. But this story was so compelling and overwhelming that, I mean, I went to Oklahoma, I don't know how many times to do the research, and it became such an obsession that she was very supportive, but she kept saying, let's get back to the fiction. Can we just write a good old make-believe story so people won't be threatening lawsuits or actually filing lawsuits, as they have now done?
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I don't want to talk about the lawsuits because somebody will hear something. But well, yeah, I think when you write nonfiction, your exposure goes way up, especially when you write about people who are not portrayed in a favorable light. And some of those have taken offense to what I wrote, and we're now in federal court. But I've been sued many times. It's part of the overhead.
Well, let me ask about that, because both of you have explored wrongful convictions in both fiction and nonfiction. And and I know, Scott, you've said before that you use writing to work out complex arguments. And what is the difference between writing about this issue, either fictionally or?
Well, the first thing, I wrote a novel, Reversible Errors, about a capital case, and I really, when I got done with it, I just felt that I don't believe that the point of fiction is to send a message. I hold to that old Daryl Zanuck saying that if you want to send a message, use Western Union. And, fiction is about creating a coherent and compelling imagined world. You want to draw people in. You want, perhaps, to enlighten and entertain. So I got done writing Reversible Errors, and I really felt like I had not got done saying what I wanted to say about this issue. I wrote an essay for the New Yorker, and I had the editor from hell, and I wrote a 15,000-word first draft and cut it down to 5, and then the New Yorker is a famous purgatory for writing, and every week this editor would call me up and say, change it, change the lead, change the ending, we're going to run it, and always with the promise that it was going to run next week, which it didn't. Well, by the time I was done with that, I'd probably had 50,000 words, and my editor, Ferris Strauss, said, well, why not publish a book? But it was, in some ways, it was, coming out from under the sheets and just saying what I really thought. Because when I wrote Reversible Errors, I tried to be fair to the characters on both sides. As a cop and a prosecutor and a defense lawyer and a former judge who had sentenced the defendant. And, it was a great experience to just be able to speak from the heart about what I thought about this issue.